सूक्ष्मस्य लिङ्गदेहस्य प्रासादः स्थूलदेहकः आत्मनः सूक्ष्मदेहस्य बाह्यदेहो यथा स्मृतः. Hello everyone, my name is Sandesh Avdan, Stapate Samvaad, Thane Intact chapter, and its convener Avinash Harad and advocate Divya Thakur presents Samvaad with Expert. And for today's Samvaad with Expert, we have invited Dr. Kumud Kanitkar, ma'am.
Yes.
And the topic for today's conversation is art, philosophy, and mythology of Ambarnath Shiv Temple. Dr. Kumud Kanitkar is an independent researcher in Indology with a focus on medieval temples in Maharashtra. She wrote a famous book on Ambarnath Shiv Temple titled Ambarnath Shivalaya, a monograph on the temple of Shiva at Ambarnath. This book was awarded Ikuo Hirayama Prize 2013 by the Institut de France at Paris. She has also written a bilingual book on the Buleshwar temple near Yavat. She has published numerous articles in research journals, presented papers at seminars, and delivered lectures on various aspects of medieval temples. Dr. Kanitkar holds a PhD in chemistry from the University of Massachusetts. She was a postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And despite this background in chemistry, it's because of sheer curiosity and passion. She has done a groundbreaking research on Ambarnath Shiva Temple, and she's visiting Ambarnath Shiva Temple for more than 2 decades
You can
now.
say that.
And even today, she claims that she finds new things during her visit
That
to the
is
temple.
that is
For me, on a personal level, it would not be an exaggeration if I say that this book has been a life changing experience for me. Because I still remember this is the first ever book I read on the temple architecture. And I think it's in 2019 I visited Ambarnath Shivalaya for the first time. And when I was looking at the temple, I could see that it's a magnificent structure. I could sense the greatness of it, but I couldn't understand anything. I couldn't make sense of anything. And then I came back to my college, St. Xavier's, where I was pursuing my master's degree in ancient Indian culture. And I went to the Heras library and I asked librarian if there is any book on Ambarnath Shiva Temple, and he handed over me this book. I finished this book in 2 days, and later on I visited the temple again, and this time it was an altogether new experience.
Yeah.
Temples started to reveal things to me, and I started to see things. I started to see the forms, designs, patterns, the expressions, the bhava, the sentiments on the faces of the sculptures. And so in this sense I understood like how we should look at the temple and what it means, and the entire long legacy of temple architecture in India. So thank you so much for helping me see the temple and saying yes to this
no, my
inter
pleasure. My pleasure.
so let's begin our conversation on Ambarnath Shiv Temple.
Okay.
So at the beginning, I'd like to ask you a very general question,
Sure.
like what is a temple? Like as a historian, as a scholar of temple architecture, what is temple for you?
That's a very broad question, but I would say that it is something that is required for bhakti. That means previously, when the Vedas were there, you did not need a temple, you did not
Right.
need an image. But as things progressed and knowledge became more common to people, then they needed something that they could understand.
Okay.
So, this is an edifice
Okay.
that represents whatever the state of knowledge, the state of society in that period.
So you're saying this was one of the medium to impart the knowledge
Yes, yes.
to the masses.
It is non-verbal mass communication.
Very interesting word.
Yeah.
Non-verbal mass communication. Yes. Your focus is on Ambarnath Shiv Temple. You are visiting the temple for last 2 decades. Can you tell us a brief history of Ambarnath Shiv Temple? How old the temple is, who patronized it, and the dynasty associated with what? You can tell us.
Yeah. It is the inscription is dated 1060
Okay.
in our Christian era. So that means it is 11th century.
Right.
But a temple doesn't, it takes a long time. And it took, maybe there are instances where inscriptions that indicate that there were 3 generations of the Shilahara dynasty which were involved. That means it may have started in the time of Chittaraja, who was a young prince, then Nagarjuna, then finally in the reign of Mummuni, it got completed, and therefore the inscription is in the name of Mummuni, and it is detailed and it is dated down to the day and date that we can translate into our current
Okay.
era.
Okay. And what is the main source for us to know this information? Where do we get to know about it, about the Shilahara dynasty? And
Oh, there are Mirashi's, Vivi Mirashi, the late Vivi Mirashi. He has written about all the dynasties, I mean, major dynasties, and Shilahara is one of them. Because Shilahara also, there is a legend behind it.
okay.
And that Shilahara is where the original person offered his, because there is a story about Garuda being promised one naga every day or something. And then because he felt compassion,
Right.
one of the original people, he offered himself,
Mm-hmm.
and he offered to keep a part of his, body on the Shila for the Garuda. And therefore, this is the myth that says Shilahara.
Okay.
And there are many branches of Shilaharas. There are North Konkan, South Konkan, even Akkalkot, many, many branches. But they
Understood.
originally, they are princes of Ter.
Princes of
Tagar.
Okay, Tagar. In your book, on the back of the front cover, you have written a very interesting lines, and one of them reads as, "One look at the temple, and it was as if I had stepped into a pool of water with some deep undercurrents drawing me in deeper and deeper." What were these undercurrents for you that
See,
were?
you understand, I had no background.
Yeah.
But uh, as a, I mean, as a science person, I was always interested in knowing why. So when I saw it, I wondered why was it there. And then, as you said, you found so many aspects. I also began. It took me 12 years, but I began to understand slowly. I would just get onto a morning local, get down at Ambarnath, and I will spend the whole day there. And then I would take photographs, and I'll look at the photographs in detail. And I think after the first 3 months, after the end of third month, I realized that one of the photos I had taken had a small elephant at the bottom.
Okay.
That means it was Indra. That means if I found one Dikpal, then I could locate all the other eight. I mean, there are Ashtadikpal.
Yes.
So then once you know Indra, then you know Indra, Agni, Varun, Vayu, like that you could trace them. So that was the first chance. And then it went on like that. And then that is what was pulling me. Every time I went, I came back, I looked at the photo, I said, what is this? I must go back and see it again. So I kept getting 12 years it took me. And finally, my husband said, "Kid, you'll never stop. So you better sit down and write because otherwise it will go on for 20 years. So therefore, I wrote it.
Okay, interesting. My next question is something we have discussed for a long time when I came here in the morning. Um, there's a popular story of Pandavas around Ambarnath Shiv Temple. Every time I go there and I speak with the local people, they tell me this story. And as a curious person who is interested in oral traditions as well, along with parallelly to the written text and everything, I do have certain interest in this story, the popular story. How, as a historian, how do you look at it, at this story?
I think I would not comment on that, but I do know that we don't really know the time of the Pandavas. And it is known right from the time of Megasthenes. I mean, these all foreign visitors who came here, including Yuan at Sang, they notice that we have very little concept of history. We always, they said that if you ask them, even the lion capital, the Ashoka Stamba that was raised by Ashoka at the parinirvana of Buddha, gives the details, but it doesn't give the name, the date or the day. I mean, we were that callous about measuring or noting time. So we have no concept. So we have rough estimates. That means Pandav indicates that it was a long time. We don't know when Mahabharata happened.
Right.
I mean, now we can conjecture, but that has become the standard.
Standard. Yes. So there are many sculptures carved on the walls of the
Yes.
Ambarnath Shiv Temple,
Yeah.
on the outer mandapa walls and
Yes.
Garbhagriha walls outside, and even inside on the pillars. And most of them are based on the mythical stories. So can you help us in understanding why these sculptures are based on the myths?
Not many of them. It would be wrong to say that many of them are based on mythology.
Okay.
Because there is a definite pattern.
Okay.
And there are 73 sculptures in all, and there are 32, 30, and the remaining on the Kapil.
Right.
There is a definite pattern, mythological sculptures, because mythological stories have to capture a lot of things. It cannot be just one image.
Right.
For example, Mahishasura-Mardini must show the Devi, must show the buffalo, must
Right.
show the demon coming out. So it needs a broad panel.
Right.
And that only happens on the Karnas, that is the main offsets of the Garbhagruha as well as the Mandap.
Right.
Only there. Others are all, they're based on plan which goes in accordance with their rituals involved in Shaiva Siddhanta.
Right. My next question is somewhat related to it. And we do see some of the mythological sculptures, and then there are myths that there is a story of Markandeya, Yamantaka, and Gajasura. But when we look at the myths in today's context, many people call it real, some call it unreal. What is myth to you, and how important do you think they are in our understanding of past?
See, myth and reality is a big topic. D.D. Kosambi has written a lot about it.
Yes.
And myths are something that always is but never was. That is how sometimes they put it. But myths are, I think, if I can quote Fritjof Capra in his Tao of Physics, at the end he has, because he has compared the dance of the atomic particles to the dance of Shiva.
Yeah.
And therefore we have the statue of Shiva at CERN. So when he was asked why he felt the need, he said, science does not need myths. Myths do not need science, but man needs both science and myths. And therefore myths play a role in our psyche. So therefore they will always be there. And it's like he said, Kosambi said, they never were, but they always will be there. So it's an abstract kind of a concept.
Interesting. Now we are moving on to the art side of the temple. आपल्याला त्यावरती कलाचं एक दर्शन ही बघायला मिळतं. Can you shed some light on the people who carved these temples, like artists, the acharyas? Who were these people, and how much do we know about them?
Now, this is very well documented in the iconography, etc. The principal person who is very erudite and who is very selfless is the Acharya. He is also called the Sapati. Sometimes he is called a Sapati. But he is the man who conceives of the plan. That this is supposed to be, because remember, temples started where Vedic, Vedic had isolated it made it limited to very high knowledgeable people. But for the common people, it was the temple. And therefore, if it was to serve as a non-verbal mass communication, it was supposed to teach how is the ideal behavior. Then he had to conceive. I mean, after all, it's like a budget we have. We have so much money, we have so much time, and we want to show so many things. So it is all governed by actual practical factors, but he has a certain idea in mind that he wants to portray this.
Right.
And then accordingly he designs it, the scale, and the artists he employs And at Ambarnath, they are outstanding artists, and they are some of them. I mean, you can see it is not this. After all, there are 73 main images, and there are 106 other images.
Right.
A single person couldn't have done it.
Yeah.
But the best images are probably done by the best artist, and the others may have been bad copies, whatever. But they did. Even amongst those bad, they are good. So that is Acharya, that is, and Sutradhar. Sutradhar is like an event management person. That means he has to coordinate.
Right.
Because all these things have to be done in sequence so that they can be put in place.
Right.
Used to be ramps, mud ramps, which would, if one side was done, then they would put a ramp there so that they would carry those fragments individual. And mind you, these are stone. So it takes 3 or 4 people to carry even a small fragment up to the place and to place it.
Yeah.
So lots of hierarchy was there, but the most respected person was the Acharya.
Right.
Then came the Sutradhar. Sutradhar is the one who did the actual architect, you can say.
Right.
He did, I mean, that is what the Sutradhar image at Ambarnath has. In one hand, his 2 arms, because he's human. In one arm, he has his hasta, which is the instrument that he uses to measure distances, to measure angles. The other hand, he has a poti. That means he has both knowledge and the expertise. So he is the second most important, but the others are then different categories.
Okay. Continuing on the artistic part of the temple, you have studied it, the Ambarnath Shiv Temple in detail for decades. What has it told you about the Indian art in general? Has it helped you in understanding what Indian art was 1,000 years ago?
That's a big bite to take. I am not that knowledgeable, but what I can see in Ambarnath is they have used it very effectively to convey to the normal person. Remember, Nirakshar is different from a Sanskrit.
Okay.
Cultured, but not necessarily literate. Therefore, this is the language of the pictures. I mean, it's almost like, for me, it was on a small scale, like deciphering Harappa, the seals, because you have to understand what. So each image I had to identify, know it, and then locate it, and then understand. That's how I said that the first image I identified was Indra, simply because he had an elephant. That was his Vahan. And then once you find it, then you know the 8 directions.
Right.
So it was slow, but that is, I don't profess any great knowledge about art. But this was my interpretation of what it represented.
Okay. So in your book on Ambarnath Shiv Temple, based on several evidences, you have said that this temple is based on Shaiva Siddhanta philosophy. Can you tell us a little bit about Shaiva Siddhanta philosophy, and why do you think that Ambarnath Shiv Temple represent this
Actually,
philosophy?
You have to go back and forth. I had to go back and forth. I had to read a bit on Shaiva Siddhanta. Then I had to go back and look at the images. And I also consulted a lot of experts. In the sense, Shaiva Siddhanta doctor, unfortunately, he passed away recently. P.F. Ilioza was a Sanskrit Mahamohopadhyaya also, but he was a French person. But he had studied Shaiva Siddhanta. And at Pondicherry, because of their French Institute, they have collected 10,000 pothis.
Okay.
It has the United Nations label, blue label of memory of the world. So because of that input, because of his articles, I started studying Shaiva Siddhanta. Then I could find parallels between what is depicted here and what is supposed to be Shaiva Siddhanta. And that is how I kind of landed into this. I did not know anything about Shaiva Siddhanta first.
Okay.
But it's a very deep kind of philosophy. So,
Okay. Can you pinpoint us some elements of the temple that hints at this philosophy of Shaiva Siddhanta?
oh dear. I would have to think about it, because there are a lot of factors which together indicate that it is Shaiva Siddhanta.
Okay.
I mean, it is also elimination. It cannot be this, it cannot be that.
Right.
And since it is of Shiva,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be some Shaiva Tattvaඥan.
Right.
And this seems to be uh, correctly interpreted by the iconography according to Shaiva Siddhanta. So
Okay.
whatever the books are there,
Mm-hmm.
those old books are there, they describe, and their importance, relative importance given to the images.
Images.
That
Okay.
tells me that it is
Okay.
definitely Shaiva
Okay.
Siddhanta.
So you are saying there are several sculptures belong to the Shaiva Siddhanta
Which
tradition,
would point
which
to
would
Shaiva
point.
Siddhanta.
Any sculpture comes to your mind
I
now?
mean, for example, this I have since then, after the book, I have now involved, or rather coined the terms mana, bhana, and sthana.
Okay.
That means the images
Mm-hmm.
according to the mana. That
Mm-hmm.
means according to the importance of that person,
Mm-hmm.
they will demand a place on the temple. Then mana, sthana,
Mm-hmm.
sthana is where
Place.
exactly, but bhana, and I'll give you an example of the Acharya, who is the supreme, the person who has formulated what that temple should have, what
Okay.
should it be, what should it display.
Mm-hmm.
He is a mortal,
Mm-hmm.
but he finds place on the Garbhagruha. That
Okay.
means on the outside walls of the Garbhagruha, Acharya is the only mortal.
Mm.
And that means he has been given the mana,
Mm-hmm.
he has been given the sthana, and yet bhana is maintained because he is a mortal,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a relative proportion of heights,
Mm-hmm.
and he is Ashtatala,
Mm-hmm.
not Dashatala.
Mm-hmm.
Like Gauri or Shiva would be Uttama Dashatal, Gauri would be Madhyama Dashatal, but he is in Ashtatal,
Okay.
clearly showing that he is a mortal.
Right.
And yet his man and stan is determined by his erudition.
Mm.
And also, interestingly, a man, I mean, an Acharya, just as even Shiva has to have Shakti.
Right.
Acharya has a Shakti which is portrayed next to him, but she is not mortal because she is four-handed.
Right.
Yet she is shown shorter than the Acharya.
Mm.
That means that thing is kept in mind that,
Right.
okay, he is an Acharya, so technically Shakti has to be there.
Has to be there.
That represents his erudition.
Right.
But at the same time, he is in Ashtatala and she has to be lower than him.
Right.
And therefore, these things are noticed.
Yeah.
And then the sadhaka is on the other side.
Okay.
And it is an interesting thing that it took me a long time to understand that, because he has all the attributes of Shiva.
Right.
And he is in Ashtatala. I mean, you cannot have Shiva in Ashtatala in a Shiva temple.
Yeah.
So, took me a long time. Then I connected the two sadhana. That means it is the concept at Ambarnath, I realized later on, is that if the mandapa represents the Ihaloka and the actual Garbhagruha represents the Paraloka.
Right.
And that is considered a tirtha, is a ford where you cross over. And for people like us, I mean, not necessarily sannyasis and tapasvis, but for us, we need to go from Ihaloka, temporarily take the ford and go to the Paraloka, but we want to come back.
Right.
And that is also, you can see in the sequence, so that you go around the temple, which represents the outside things, represent the macrocosm. Then when you enter, you are going to the microcosm.
Right.
Where you go to the Garbhagruha, it has plain walls, and only exactly in the center, in a Shiva temple, you have only the linga. Linga, Apte's dictionary has many distinct meanings, but chinna is one of them. That means it is a symbol and it is a nirakar.
It is a nirakar.
And therefore, that is the basic, I mean, if you can say that iconography is accordingly developed.
Understood.
And
So
you must understand there is no formula for iconography.
Okay.
That means if
Okay.
it is
Okay.
Shaiva Siddhanta here, Khajuraho also one of the temples is, the Shaiva temple is Shaiva Siddhanta.
I see.
But that iconography is totally different.
Hmm.
They are illustrating certain, that was a much more magnificent, it's called Sandhar. That means it has an inner product and so on. But
Right.
anyway, that doesn't mean there is a standard textbook of iconography for Shaiva Siddhanta.
Right.
It is everybody's expression of his own ideas.
Okay. It's interesting that you mentioned Khajuraho.
Yeah.
Recently, I was doing the chronological parallelism between these temples. So what I found is in between 1000 CE to 1050 CE, in this uh,
1000.
50.
Okay.
So in these 5 decades, we in the north we have the Kendariya Shiva
Chandani
temple,
Mandira.
which is the peak of the Nagara style of architecture, we
Okay.
can say. And in the south we have the Brihadishwara temple,
Okay.
which is the peak of the Dravida style of
Okay.
architecture. And in the similar time period, we see the Ambarnath Shiv Temple is coming up. So in these 5 decades, lots of things are happening across India. If you see geographically, do you
Yeah.
see, is there any pattern, any reason you found in your studies?
Pattern, I don't know, but you can very clearly see
Hmm.
the difference in the grandeur
Yeah.
at Khajuraho or even Brihadishwar. And Ambarnath is a small fry.
Ah.
Yet, it is a gem because it is very, I mean, you don't find it in all the big temples also.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in Brihadishwar, I'll be attacked by the, but it has lots of images,
Yeah.
but the kind of brevity
Mhm.
and the essence being portrayed in a small space is outstanding for Ambarnath.
Ambarnath.
So you
Right.
can't say, you can't generalize.
Mhm.
Increasing prosperity,
Yeah.
increasing need to show off.
Right.
Therefore, that was there.
Right, right. In your book, you have also mentioned, as we come to the concluding part of the book and also the interview, you have section analysis and synthesis where you have tried to connect the dots. There you have written that the Ambarnath temple represent the quest to transcend the form to reach the formless, a search for Nirguna Nirakar through Saguna Sakar. Can you shed some light on this statement? Why do you think so, and how does it represent so?
Maybe, I mean, it's a generalization, but it's my personal observation,
Mhm.
personal realization that as I progressed, I understood better and better
Mhm.
why certain things were displayed. What was the location? The location had an important point.
Mhm.
Like I said, Ihaloka and
Paraloka.
Paraloka. The between part, which is called Antarara or Kapili, it has shown sadhana.
Mm.
How to achieve that ability or the right to go from here to there.
Mm.
Mind you, everybody, especially in the south, everybody is not allowed entry into the Garbhagriha.
Mm.
You have to qualify, you have to justify that you are qualified, you have reached the level where you can enter the Garbhagriha.
Mm.
That is no longer found here, but that is the concept.
Right. And it's so, is it also this idea of a Nirguna Nirakar through Saguna Sakar? Is it also related to the fact that we find several sculptures on the outer walls of the temple, or
Yeah.
especially on the mandapa walls? But the moment we enter inside the Garbhagriha, it's almost empty. There's only Shivling as a symbolic form of Shiva, and there is nothing else. Why do we see this
See,
difference?
you must remember that it was an era
Mhm.
where everybody was not would not be even allowed inside the temple.
Mm.
So therefore, outside had to be complete so that people who could not enter could still access what was this was a knowledge. And like I said, Nirakshar did not mean a
As Sanskrit.
Sanskrit, and also it doesn't mean that if you are a different, you are forbidden, you were not capable of understanding.
Mhm.
So it was very clearly for that. Therefore, the outside
Okay.
had to be very clear and very profusely illustrated.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't even tried to count the number of images.
Mm.
Like I said, 73 are the main Janga images.
Yes.
But there are so many on the Adhishthana, there are so many on
Narathara.
the up. I mean, there is no limit. I mean, I wouldn't even think of counting. There's so many of them. But
Right.
that is the reason that they are
Mhm.
there. Inside, it's only limited people could go in,
Right.
and therefore not really necessary to illustrate.
Mhm. So now we have come to the concluding and the last question.
Okay.
In your book, you have mentioned Sant Jnaneshwar's OV,
Yes.
which reads as Dev Devul Parivaru की जे करून डोंगर तैसा भक्तीचा व्यवहारू का न व्हावा. Uh, how important do you think this thought is in today's context when we look at the religion itself?
I mean, in my opinion, Naneshwar is timeless.
Hmm.
I mean, though he was 12th, 13th century, but what he has written, and it is very, very commendable that what he noticed, he was trying to explain in very simple language everybody could understand. What it says is Deva Deula Parivaru. म्हणजे देवाची मूर्ती, देवळाचं स्ट्रक्चर आणि त्याचा परिवार म्हणजे शिव आहे, गणेश आहे, कार्तिकेय, की जे कोरुनी डोंगरू म्हणजे ते सुद्धा सगळे एका डोंगरातनच कोरलेले आहेत. ऐसा भक्तीचा परिवार उकाना. दॅट मीन्स व्हाय डू यू नॉट अंडरस्टँड दॅट हे देऊळ आहे, ही मूर्ती आहे, ही शिवाची आहे, ही याची आहे, असं नाही. आपल्याला त्याच्यातून निर्गुण समजलं पाहिजे. देव देऊळ देवारू की जे करून डोंगरू ऐसा भक्तीचा परिवार की का न केली. म्हणजे हे सगळ्यांना समजेलच असं नाही, समाजाच्या दृष्टीने असेलच असं नाही, पण ते खूप गहन असं स्टेटमेंट आहे. And it is applicable to even today.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it.
Okay. Okay. So thank you so much, ma'am, for this wonderful conversation.
My pleasure.
And cooperating with us from day one. We discussed briefly on the art, mythology, and philosophy of temple. I'm sure that there is a lot to talk about it, and in coming days, when there is a better weather and everything, hopefully we'll be able to visit
Yeah,
the Ambarnath
we
temple
can do that.
and do something at the temple as well on the side. But up until then, I hope this is a great beginning of a collaboration, and we'll do some more programs
Yes,
and events.
because I think Maharashtra temples are neglected
Yes,
by scholars
yes,
for whatever reason, but
Yeah.
there is a lot of temples which we could do something like this.
Like, yes,
And Phuleshwar would definitely be the next one
yes,
because
definitely.
it has lots of things.
Right, right.
Okay.
Okay.
So thank you.
Yes, and so we'll also like to thank Mr. Swapnil Shetty, the person behind our camera, for taking time from his busy schedule, and Vishal coming at the very last moment, saying yes to travel all the way from Vasai to Dadar in the morning. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to us. To encourage us to produce more such events and programs, do follow us on Sthapatya Samvaad on Instagram, and do share, like, and subscribe Sthapatya Samvaad on YouTube as well. So thank you so much. Stay curious. Take care. Thank you.